Hi everybody, it's Tuesday. It is a snowy Tuesday outside for April 21. It would be nice to have some warmer weather, but all we can do is take one day at a time. And that's what I want to focus on in today's midweek video, taking one day at a time. There's a phrase in Paul's letter to the Philippians that's pretty challenging. Paul writes, "Do not be anxious about anything." That's easier said than done, right? Most of us could come up with a list of several things or many things to be anxious about. Sometimes it seems like our headspace just consists of juggling anxieties. We let one go only to catch another one, and we know that the first one is still hanging in the air and we're going to have to catch it again any moment. And these anxieties have no respect for age. Whether you are in middle school or you're in your twilight years, there are probably lots of things in your life that can make you anxious. So it might seem like Paul is out to lunch when he says, "Do not be anxious about anything." Now, Paul does give us a way to channel our anxieties. He writes, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, present your requests to God." Paul's advice, and it's good advice, is to take everything you're anxious about and to channel all of it into your prayer. Turn your anxieties into prayer. Some people have a hard time thinking of what to pray for, but I think if we turned our anxieties into prayers, we'd find some things that we have to pray for. And Paul's promise is that when we turn our anxiety into prayer, God's peace will guard our hearts and our minds. So that's one place to go with our worries or anxieties, to turn our worries into our prayers. Now, Jesus also says something about worry. He says, "Do not worry about tomorrow." Actually, Jesus says, do not worry about your life, your food, your body, your clothes, some pretty big categories. And Jesus sums it up by saying, "Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." Which brings us back to taking one day at a time. Which right now, in the midst of a shutdown, when we can't hang out with our friends or have social gatherings or worship in the same space on Sunday morning, right now, taking one day at a time is all we can do. And it strikes me how contemporary Jesus is with these words. Right now, there's a lot of interest and discussion about mindfulness. People are hungry for ways to take a breath and get some clear headspace in the midst of life's chaos. And so mindfulness exercises have become very popular. These exercises say, lay aside what you're worrying about, lay aside what's coming in the future, and just be present in this moment. Jesus is somewhat similar when he says, don't worry about tomorrow. Each day has enough trouble of its own. But when Jesus says it, he gives us greater reason to be confident, greater reason to hope. Jesus says the big stuff is in God's hands. God knows what you need. Jesus reminds us the big stuff isn't in our hands. What we can do to find peace is to take one day at a time, not worry about tomorrow, convert our worries into our prayers, seek God's kingdom, rely on God's peace, and trust in God for the rest. Here again is how Paul says it. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. I hope we can lay hold of this today and throughout this week. God bless you until we see each other again. Thanks.